Kia ora, morena. Welcome to Waitaki and Oamaru town. Oamaru settled in 1840. Today I'm going to talk to you about leaving no one behind and joined up planning. For this we've got a town that was actually developed from 1840 to today and how our communities have grown and developed over that time. It's really exciting to talk to you because RIMS is something that's actually very, very important to our joined up planning and making sure we don't leave anyone behind. Over the next 20 minutes we'll talk through a number of things around the Oamaru town and how RIMS and the related projects that come out of RIMS have actually helped us get to where we are for the future. So Oamaru developed initially for the grain produce growing from the land and shipping that to the UK. But what we very quickly moved on to was the ability, we had sheep, we had a new opportunity for frozen meat, and New Zealand led the way for the world in moving frozen meat. What happened? While we were moving that first load of frozen meat, the change to the shipping network changed from sail to steamships. The steamships were larger, wouldn't fit into the harbour, and therefore the future that Waitaki was building for changed. Oamaru quickly developed into a versioning town where we'd actually create an awful lot of goods and to export overseas. One thing we found was that we had our forefathers that planned this town around what was required. The largest heavy commercial vehicle of its time was the bullet train. The bullet train required an area to turn around, and you look at Thames Street today and the width of it, it is actually the width required for turning a bullet train around. Interestingly enough, as the largest heavy commercial vehicle of its time, it's the same area required today for our large 8 PMV B trains. So did our forefathers get it right? 150 years on, I've got to say yes they did. But what has happened here is we have turned it into a car-centric position. If you look at our roading here, we have 4 lanes, we have a separated, we have a great environment here that was built around the people. The first people we've left behind as we've developed is the people. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. It is the people that we're here for. And that is around the leaving no one behind. We need to be very conscious as we move forward that for every innovation, what are we leaving behind? Who are we impacting? And how do we keep that going? Because this is around everybody's space. We move on to a multimodal society. For me, I'm actually talking around equitable transport choice. It's around how I can choose to travel the way I want to do that doesn't impact on somebody else's choice and how their choice doesn't impact on me. And out of that, we should be able to innovate and move because tomorrow, I can't guarantee we'll always have cars. 150 years ago, the cars weren't invented. But tomorrow, we'll still have a means of travelling around. What's that going to be? So when we develop now, we need to look forward, but also look back. What is the future going to bring and how do we make it? At the end of the day, people are going to need to park a vehicle of some description. Might not be a car, might not be a truck, but it could be something. And how that moves, we need to be very fluent and flexible for the future. So that is around why we need to be very connected. We've got a heritage value of our town here, and everything we need to do does need to be cognizant of that heritage value because that's a significant part of our town. Our planners, our infrastructure providers, and everybody needs to be working together. We have the documents within council. We have our spatial plans, we have our council strategic direction, we have our NLTPs, we have our government policy statements on land transport funding, we have our road to zeros, we have all of these coming through and they're all important. In this place here, you are actually meeting as Rimerians. I've got to throw that in again because Rimerians is very much around people who come to RIMS conferences regularly. But it's an important part of actually getting the data around making our decisions. We're in a position of having data-rich decision making. It's important to have it, but that is a tool. I've got to say that is not the goal. The goal is to create a multimodal, equitable transport environment where people can choose. The RIMS and all of our processes is around providing the data so we can make informed decisions. And as engineering staff and as planners, we put that in front of the politicians, either local or central government, to say, this is the information you need to make a robust decision. If we don't get it through to them, we're failing as our engineers. So part of this conference, I challenge you, look long and hard about how do you get this information through to your decision makers in a way that they can make a robust decision. I take pride in showing you the heritage of Oamaru, and this is around looking backward, leaving no one behind as we move forward. What is really intriguing here is in recent months we've gone through a network operating framework. We've looked at around how our network actually operates, and it's some interesting information. While we went through that, we actually found that their planning, as they developed their district plan, went onto a spatial plan. And it was interesting to see how that connected, and bringing those different parts of council together is really building a strong position for the future. So once again, going back to that information-driven decision making. We look at what we have here and we're looking at what are our future needs. And we've got one thing that council has, and all councils have, is we have space. We cannot direct how people are going to use the space, but we can actually create the space where people have got choices. Coming back to the transport choices, living choices. This is around how we make it happen. And our history in our town is around that we're being very innovative. We've gone from a situation where we're growing grain to actually innovating and moving frozen meat around the world, which has created a whole new worldwide phenomenon. That actually produces on. We started here with moving from walking and horses. We brought in the penny farthing. So that was the first step towards making a modal type community. And that mode carried on to a stage where in the early 1910s and 1920s we created a very car-centric society. We started to develop what was right for the car. What happened was we left the people behind. At the moment, this road that you're seeing behind me, 70% of this space is used for cars. We have a space here for probably 45,000 vehicles a day. We have less than 4,000 vehicles a day. We have a growing number and demand for pedestrians. How well we provide for them, crossing, walking around, actually enjoying the space. In the middle of the road here, we've got a wasted area that's not utilised because it's sitting here in the sunshine. We could do it for lots of things. We could use it for many, many things. Just recently, we had 2 graduate students that come through, and from their time at the school here, they had a drive to say, why aren't those pupils travelling by bus or by other means to school? Because they noticed that so many people were travelling by car. That gave us the opportunity where I worked with them, and council actually supported them to create Let's Get Oamaruvian, and a great document where they engaged with the schools and the communities, the parents, the students, to see why they were choosing to travel the way they did. That actually gave us a point of contact with the community, and we've built upon that and continue to build on it. It's around what the community needs. And the fact that we've done the network operating framework, we've done the spatial plan, we've done so many documents coming through, even down to the RIMS, around how we actually manage our network, is coming through. We're all talking about the same thing, and that's around we need to work together. And if I can use the example where we have 25% of our community that are aged 18 or under, we have 25 to 30% that within the next few years will actually be coaching to 35% that are 65 or over. So in essence, we have almost 60%, the numbers say 55, but 55 to 60% of our community will be looking to travel in other ways other than cars. We need to use that together. How do we actually build a community that actually works for everybody? It's a multimodal, choice unlimited way of actually using our facilities. So Transport Choices is our development project for new improvements to our road network here and challenging the severance of the state highway. But Let's Get Oamaruvian spoke around the locals and how they want to use the space. So for us, that is very much around how we create a one mode centric environment to turn it into something that is mode neutral or that has equitable choices where people can make good choices. Our challenge as engineers is how do we pull this together and bring everybody on board. So I go back to the number of people that are either too young or getting to the retirement age or retirement eligibility age. So we have 55 to 60% of our community are actually in a position where they want to change. We need to look at how do we empower them to make that choice. What does that do to greenhouse gas emissions and all of that? That if we can take away those people that have a choice and change the way they use the vehicles, we can actually reduce the number of vehicle kilometres travelled and the greenhouse gases without limiting how the people need to travel. It is that elective choice that is really our opportunity for the future. Hello, we come back to you again, but this is the point where we actually see our natural environment coming together with our future use and future demands. Maybe we get a little bit tacky at this stage because I'm going to start talking about walkers and how that fits in. And where the walker comes in And I know that's Waka Kotahi, but it's very significant here because Waka is very much around we work together. We have so many different components, whether it's our city planning, our roading planning, our three waters, our national government, our local government, all coming together, and we've got parts to play in this. And that while we're in a Waka, we're actually working together. We do have to paddle together because that's how we make ground. A Waka, not a rowboat. A Waka is forward facing, and we are paddling to the future. And that's what we have to do. Yes, I know it's tacky, but I've got to throw it in that everything we do builds on the picture. So today you work towards the RIMS, providing information towards the next NLTP. Tomorrow it's going to be our spatial plans, our district plans, a whole heap of other things, and it will change on the way through. The direction is set at the front of the Waka, with the teams here saying this is where we want to go to, this is what we're looking out for, this is the challenges that are coming to us. At the back we actually have the steering. I know it's tacky, but that's the reality. This is where we are, and each one of us is important to make it go. We need to paddle together. If we get out of step, we start to go in circles, and that's a very real risk for what we have. We've only got so much money. I go back to Waitaki was built, and it's lasted for 150 years. That's what we need to do. We only got the money to do this once. We need to look at our future generations, and that what we're building today is tomorrow's heritage. So as we move through, and remembering coming back to where we started was around joined up planning, around leaving no one behind. We've had to pivot today. You'll see that I'm now standing indoors in the Opera House at the Oamaru Opera House, of course. And that's around how we can actually pivot for different environmental impacts that come along and challenge us. In our journey we're heading on to, it is not to say any one thing, it's around how we gather all the data so we make sure that everybody's informed. We're looking for good decisions, robust decisions, and that we actually keep it going forward. What have we got here? We've got our spatial plan, we've got a network operating frameworks, we've got our district plans, we've got everything coming through. The government drive right at the moment is very much around how do we reduce greenhouse gases, how do we reduce the road toll to zero. And let's not forget that, is around that's our target, that's our goal. Everything else we do on the way through is part of the achievements of those. It's around how we gather the information. Everything we do, RIMS, all of those other spatial plans, the NOFs, the long-term plans, the NLTPs, the NLTFs, they're all around how do we achieve that goal. Previously, I spoke around the Waka and paddling together. We are stronger as one team, paddling in the same direction, and we've got to remember that. Our goal here is to provide the information to our governance teams, so that's our executive members of the council, through to our elected members, and they in turn talk through the regional transport committees through to central government. We need to focus on, we've got a role to play here of providing all the information. So as we move through all of our decision making here and how we inform people and we paddle together, it's very important that our strength is bringing the whole community with us, not one part of the community. We need to bring everybody through, because our most vocal minority is always around the ones that, what am I going to lose? We need to turn that discussion around to what am I going to gain, what is going to be the challenge, what's going to be the improvement. And to quote something to show that in New Zealand we're not alone, I'm going to quote from the Asset Management Group in Hamilton, Canada. It goes, the solution will never be a louder bell, a stronger helmet or brighter clothing. The solution will always be the political will to make a real change. Everything else is a distraction and victim blaming. Okay, and thank you very much for coming to visit Waitaki and Oamaru. As you can see, this is the transport mode of choice from yesteryear, and it's still valid today. We still use them, we still have races. Thank you for coming to join us. I hope you've enjoyed the time. Hope you've learned something, because I certainly have, and do encourage you to come and visit us. So, not quite farewell, but I'm saying farewell from here. Just wait, there's more to come. From yesteryear, we now to go to modes of today, and just to show that it's still cycling, it's still moving in different mobilities. But thank you for joining us, and I hope you really enjoyed the visit. We enjoyed having you here. Have a good day.